The paper contributes to scholarship on the role of third places for intercultural relations, and it kind of looks at the context in East London where diversity is commonplace. We've had immigration over several decades, and it's not sort of perceived as something particularly unusual. And we're comparing that with an area in Tokyo where immigration is fairly new and where there are not that many spaces of intercultural encounter. By looking at very different contexts and then zooming into specific sites, namely places where people go out for a meal, we call them eateries. We kind of found out that although diversity is very commonplace in East London and people have daily interactions across various types of differences, within these eateries, actually, because of the physical setup of these eateries, there aren't that many interactions across cultural or religious differences. And that's quite different to the Tokyo site, where although it's in an area where diversity is not commonplace, within these eateries, because of the cultural norms of interaction in these sites, there are a lot more interactions across cultural differences. So it was very interesting to compare these very different contexts and to find that it's actually about established norms of interactions within these sites, and that is the determining factor of whether people interact or not.
The point of the paper is to really look at how these migrant spaces are working as social spaces, both from the point of view of the producers and also the consumers. And for myself, this has involved also ethnographic research, hanging out with people, watching people, interacting with people. And because it's a neighborhood which is very close to where I live, I can spend a lot of time there. So it's a very intense project. And what I think is really intriguing about these spaces is, unlike, I guess, ethnic or immigrant neighborhoods where you have a very large proportion of migrants. This is a neighborhood in which migrants are really quite almost a novelty, I would say, but perhaps certainly a small number. So they're a relatively small part of the population here, about, probably less than 5% of the population, and in fact, probably much less than that. So what this means is that these migrants are creating spaces in which the majority of customers are going to be locals. And so how do they interact with the migrants? What kind of social interactions do they create? And to sort of summarize our findings, my findings for the Japan part, is that these migrants really create spaces in which they interact on a very intense level with Japanese customers. And Japanese customers are then become part of really a sort of migrant-owned space. And I think it's a kind of, in that sense, a sort of intercultural third space, because these spaces are places not only that people visit occasionally, but often as regulars. This type of intimate third space, I think, is partly an outcome of several factors, one of which is the size of the space, because these are very, very small restaurants and eateries and bars. There's a sort of intimacy in the style of interaction that would include also Japanese-owned spaces. The other factor, really, I think, is that because there's not a majority migrant population in the neighborhood, these are not enclaves. These are not sort of business enclaves of migrants serving other migrants. So there's a sort of need to really interact with the Japanese customers. And so these two factors, I think, create then a kind of social, a sort of structural situation in which this type of intercultural intimacy or friendship or business relationships is facilitated.